As promised, let's focus on the fairest pack. We have Mr. Sandeep, the Secretary of Ministry of Steel, who joins us on the show. Hi, sir. Good morning. Good to see you win. And kudos to you as well as the team. Has protected the domestic steel industry from all that's going out in the globe and, in fact, the uncertainties that we're seeing on the trade front as well. That said, I wanted your opinion on a couple of factors. One is, will GST 2.0 spur further demand for the steel sector? If you could give us your quick comment on that. And demand could be relatively impacted because of relatively lower spends coming in from the government, maybe lower demand from the government. But do you see green shoots coming up post-Diwali?
So, thank you and good morning. Let us start with the impact of GST on the steel sector. We see that the consumption is likely to grow with the change in GST, the GST reforms. And primarily, four sectors, in our opinion, will impact the consumption of steel and increase the consumption of steel. First is the construction sector, because as you know, the cement GST has been reduced. So that will incentivize or encourage more construction, and steel is one of the important factors or inputs in construction. So that should increase consumption. Second is automobile. Again, most of the automobiles or autos have been brought into lower GST band. So that should incentivize more steel consumption there. Household consumer durables like refrigerators, ACs, again, lower GST, more production, more consumption of steel. One more thing which should, so that's on the consumption side. There are more sectors which will incentivize more consumption. So we are expecting that in coming months, the steel consumption will grow. We should also take into account the fact that we are the only major economy in the world where steel consumption is growing in double digits.
Yeah.
For last 3 years, we are growing at 12%. And in the first almost half, April to August of this financial year, we have grown more than 8% in terms of consumption. So I see an optimistic scenario for steel consumption because of GST reforms. And I also see that as the rainy season ends, we should see more consumption in steel and more demand coming from all sectors.
Okay.
So I will presume that the steel sector will continue to show robust growth on the consumption side.
Got it. And for the year, sir, we should be working with what, high single-digit growth? So as I said, till now it's 8% for April to August, but I would dare say that because of GST reforms and because of the coming construction season coming, we should be somewhere around 9 to 10% at least in the consumption growth.
Mr. Poundrik, so thank you so much for being with us this morning. Surabhi here. I just had a question around how you're observing moves in China and their implications for the Indian steel sector. Now, there's already, a safeguard duty that has been announced. But a lot is going on in China, and there's a lot of talk of this so-called anti-involution policy. They're trying to set their house in order, reduce disruptive price wars. What is your reading of the situation? Are you anticipating more Chinese steel in global markets, including India? Or do you think the safeguard duty is adequate? And right now, the Indian steel sector is well protected?
So you're right. A lot of steel is coming into the international market. And there's an article you must have seen today which talks about a lot of exports from China to other countries. But as far as steel is concerned, if you see the present year data, the imports from China have reduced significantly as compared to last year. That may be due to safeguard duty, provisional safeguard duty, which has been imposed by the government. And as DGTR has recommended to continue the safeguard duty, I would presume that domestic steel sector should get reasonable price and should not be affected because of the cheap or substandard imports.
Okay.
Also, there are some anti-dumping investigations going on, and DGTR has already recommended imposition of anti-dumping duties on 2 categories of products, one from China, one from Vietnam. So, all inclusive, that's safeguard duty, anti-dumping duties on after DGTR recommendations and after the process. I would say that domestic steel sector should not be adversely impacted because of cheap or substandard steel imports. I don't see that as a possibility, at least in the near term.
Right, absolutely. Mr. Poundrik, hi, good morning. Prashant here, and good to see you, sir, always. Provides a really high-level guidance on the industry going forward. Just a quick word, Mr. Poundrik, on on exactly that point. The expectation is, and this is, of course, from a financial market standpoint, that everything from refined products to steel to chemicals out of China, which is the largest maker of all this stuff, is going to reduce because, this anti-involution, which my colleague pointed out, basically race to the bottom. So they want to prevent a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. So they are shutting off old capacities and many such measures, basically. Of course, it will take time for all of this to show up. So basically lesser Chinese exports into the world for everything, including steel. So that is one. So could that, in your opinion, if you've looked at this issue, provide a slightly more structural uplift to prices everywhere? And second, sir, the rupee here against the dollar has, sharply depreciated. It's down 3.5% year to date. So I just wanted to get a sense if you've got an eye on that as well. And any thoughts there? Yeah.
Yeah, let me talk about the overall import-export scenario and the impact of measures taken by the government. So, if you see our exports in this financial year from April to August have in fact increased about 16% as compared to same period for the last year, and our imports have reduced 32%. So, while our imports and exports both are not a big chunk of our total domestic consumption or domestic production, they have an impact on the pricing scenario because cheaper imports or whatever imports are happening, they have an impact on domestic pricing, what we may call a benchmarking of the domestic pricing. And if cheap imports come, then the domestic prices go down significantly. If we see the pricing scenario for domestic steel for last maybe 3 years or so, the domestic steel prices have gone down significantly as compared to say 22, 23. But after the safeguard measures by government this year, they have stabilized to some extent, but they are still at a lower level as compared to what they were earlier. On your question about
the currency,
the policy changes in China and the impact on India, I would say that should help the overall steel industry, because right now the steel industry in terms of pricing is not very high, means the pricing is at very low level as compared to what they were getting earlier. So any such policy changes should help the industry, and that's also important because we have to invest in the steel sector to cater to the domestic consumption growth. We are targeting at 300 million ton by 2030. On the dollar rupee, yes, that will obviously have an impact, and impact in both in terms of raw material imports, because we import substantial part of coking coal. So a change there will help, depreciation will help. As we don't have much exports, that impact I don't see, because our overall exports were only 4.5 million tons last year as compared to total production of 152 million tons. But on the raw material side, that may have more impact on the steel sector.
Mr. Poundrik, just a point. Now, taking what you said, all of it put together, you're saying, first of all, there's no reason to worry about any major China import surging. The safeguard duties will take care of it and the anti-dumping duties. That coupled with what you just told Nigel, that the demand is looking good, GST is looking very, very good. So the stock market seems to be expecting a price increase. I mean, if you go by some of the brokerage reports, etc. So are those hopes well placed? Would you also expect some price increases in the coming months?
I would not like to comment on the stock market trends. I can say that the steel sector,
steel prices,
per se, as far as we are concerned, yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So that is looking good. I am optimistic that steel prices should, because of the increasing consumption and reducing imports, the prices of steel should balance now in coming months, and the industry should show more returns in terms of revenue and everything. But that's the steel sector per se I'm talking about. So
right.
I'm optimistic about the steel sector in the country.
Right, Mr. Poundrik. In fact, we had put out a piece yesterday that the domestic makers, they have a good argument to go ahead and increase pricing because consumption will increase. We're at a big discount in comparison to Chinese prices as well as FTA countries' prices. And we're getting into the seasonally stronger period post the monsoon. So let's keep that aside. Just a quick word on the final decision with regard to the safeguard duty from the Finance Ministry. When is that expected, if you could tell us, on steel? And is there a possibility of some anti-dumping duty on stainless steel imports as well?
So the safeguard duty, the provisional duty is applicable till I think first week of November, 6th or 8th of November. So a final decision should be taken before that for continuing the safeguard duty. Means that issue should be finalized before that, I would presume. And on the anti-dumping duty on stainless steel, there is a investigation going on by DGTR. So as soon as the DGTR reports comes in, government will take a decision based on that report.
Oh.
That investigation is still under process.
So we should expect that in the next couple of months?
Normally they take a few months, 3 to 4 months.
Okay, so on stainless steel, there's an investigation. We'll wait to hear from you all. Let's talk about RINL. The last time you joined us, you were telling us that the pending dues are gradually coming down. They've fired up a couple of their furnaces. And the dues actually were to a listed company, which is NMDC. So the street would like to understand what is the pending dues from RINL? How much was it? How much has it come down to?
So RINL, as you know, last year they were in pretty bad shape. Yes. They had total dues of about 35,000 crores, both means roughly half to the banks and roughly half to the private creditors, including NMDC. Now, after the government's package, they have improved substantially. They are running now all their 3 blast furnaces. Roughly, I would say 75 to 80% capacity, which they have never done in the past on a sustainable basis. So operationally, they are doing pretty good. On the finance side, they have reduced significantly their banking loans, banking liabilities, which in turn means that their interest rates have come down for borrowings from the banks.
Okay.
They have started paying back the private creditors too, including NMDC. And I would presume it will take some time. We should understand that their financial position was so precarious that it will take some time for them to totally balance out. But I would say they are in much better position as compared to last year overall financially.
Yeah, if they're paying their dues, then it's good news for NMDC as well, because otherwise there was outstanding in terms of a receivable. Final question, sir. If you have any kind of sneak peek, things are looking up for the steel sector. NMDC Steel, will it get divested in the remainder of this year? They've turned around things quite a bit. Utilization levels have moved up. So quick comment on that. And what about SAIL? If things are going to improve, could we see an OFS coming in?
So NSL, yes, you're right. They have significantly improved their performance. In fact, in last 1 year, they have almost reached now almost 100% capacity utilization on the hot metal side and roughly 80 to 90% capacity utilization on the mill side. So they have improved significantly. On the divestment issue, the decision of the government still stands. As you know, there is a cabinet decision that NSL will be divested. So that decision still stands. How fast it will move, I would not like to it's not Ministry of Steel which undertakes the process. So that's for the DPUM, they can comment on that. On SAIL, yes, they are doing good. One thing which about SAIL that now they are focusing on mining too. They are in fact the second biggest miner of the country of iron ore, and now this year they have been given a target to also sell iron ore in the market and increase their iron ore production significantly. So both on the iron ore side, mining side and steel side, I would think that SAIL will improve and show significantly better results. They are also planning a lot of expansion. So I would say that in this year, they should finalize decisions on those capacity expansions.
Okay, interesting to see if things are looking up, whether there is some OFS that will be due. But we appreciate you joining in, sir. You're sounding optimistic on the prospects. Maybe the domestic steel consumption could grow by around 9 to around 10%. The ingredients are in place, and the government of India has put in some good protection measures, which saves us from what's going on the global uncertainty front. Thanks a lot for joining in.